again, and thank you for being here presenting for BC Demo Day.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, welcome all. So just wanted to quick talk to you about the Avalara plugin for Business Central. Our intent here is to really kind of get involved in the sales order quote and invoice process without really kind of getting in the way of the overall process of things on that end. So as we kind of talk through here, really Avalara is just here to kind of help things out, right? So there's a lot of different components that overall we can run through, whether it's managing certificates or filing your tax returns, or obviously calculating the tax on the sales orders invoices. But we've got other tools for property tax and tax research and licenses and all those kind of different areas, depending on where you may need us to kind of help out with things. So kind of at a really high level, as you guys are building out your different, quote orders and invoices, uh, as soon as you save those different components within there, the Avatax system is going to kind of take over. So we're going to validate out addresses and make sure, first of all, that what you've actually got is good. And then we're going to correct that kind of behind the scenes as things come through. We're going to check to see if are you registered in that jurisdiction. So do we even need to calculate tax there in the first place? We look at your customer exemptions to find out, do you actually have anything on file for them, and apply that exemption accordingly. We look at different sourcing rules. Is it origin based? Is it destination based tax? Is it a kind of a mixed bag like California does? We're going to make sure we get you down to the right jurisdictions because we're taking that address information, can bring it down to lat long. We look at each individual line on the actual invoice so we know how one thing is going to be taxed versus another as it comes through based on that different product taxability. So looking at things like, thresholds on clothing, is it taxable? Is it exempt? Maybe there's reduced rates involved. All those things kind of happen. And again, we're going to send the information right back to the ERP system or e-com or POS or however we're kind of hooked into those different areas. And then the information gets stored into Avatax as well, so it can be there for ultimately reporting and filing if we're using those services. And ideally, goal is here to help you guys get some more sleep, right? Not have to think about sales tax. So you're going to be able to see at the end of the day, again, kind of what we were just talking about. Really, do we have nexus in that state? Is that customer taxable or not? Is that good or service taxable? And then based on those particular results in your different configurations, be able to come back with varying levels of taxes you're going to see in those different jurisdictions. All the rates and everything are stored in Avatax, so you don't have to maintain those. And all that information will just be passed back and forth again as you save those different orders and invoices. So, really, again, just trying to bring these all into one centralized place. So we've got a lot of customers that are using more, e-commerce and POS systems, but also have the ERP. So there's a lot of different sources and all that data coming down into Avatax as one centralized place, right, to be able to kind of get all those information and ultimately get those out to different areas. So it makes it easier. We don't have to reconcile across different systems. You're getting consistent tax rates as far as things roll through, but it really just trying to keep you more efficient, more compliant, reduce your risks, right, and make this scalable. We've tried to make these things as easy as possible as far as the overall setups. So again, different areas that we can talk through. There's, the Avatax is the main engine. You've got our accounts payable module built in, so we can help, file and calculate your consumer's use tax. We've got cross-border and VAT calculation components in here, exemption management built in, and obviously our returns filing services. So with that, I'm going to jump over real quick over to Business Central. We are again just a plugin here, so you can just find us right on the App Store, search for Avalara. When we get installed, there's just this nice little bundle that gets dropped in. So you're going to be able to see a couple of different setup options, different utilities, depending on how you want to run through with things. But really, its intent here is just trying to make this as easy as possible. It's just getting it to talk to your Avatax instance. So there's an account number and license key. You point that over to your production or sandbox Avatax. There's some different business decisions in here that you can make as well, depending on how you kind of want to process things. Again, we kind of mentioned there is use tax functionality built in, as well as really kind of the big guy here is the tax area code. We take and set aside all the native codes here, and we just create one called Avatax. So that's the part now that calls over to us, makes all the rate discussions and all those different kind of calculations as far as what goes through. So you've got kind of that initial component. You've got kind of behind the scenes here, the ability to define your different goods and services to an Avalara tax code. So you can basically map these guys out depending on any of these kind of different groups and how you're running down through things, so that we can look at your different goods and services. And again, as part of the calculation, align them to an Avalara tax code so that we know behind the scenes for any jurisdiction, again, taxable, exempt, reduced rates or thresholds, right? And apply all that logic to the transaction. So again, varying levels that we can kind of run through up front to get these components mapped, pretty much a one-time setup in the beginning, but really just aligning with those things that we need to, things like services and shipping and things of that nature. We have, sorry, hooks here on the back end on the customer side. So as these guys kind of catch up, when we are looking at your different customers in the systems, there is kind of standard functionality built into here as far as the main card, but we have the ability here to validate out addresses as you've entered those in. So we can make sure that we're starting out with clean information, right? So ultimately, when the tax calculation occurs, we can make sure this is going to be accurate. Just one way to kind of clean up that information here. We also have integrations directly to our exemptions module from here. So I don't have to leave the day-to-day of Business Central, but if this is an exempt customer, I have the ability to push this customer data to AvaTax and allow for the transaction to actually, get that data over there. We can send requests for certificates directly from here, so your customer can actually fill out that information and get you that document back. We can also pull back certificates that we've got on file. So I can actually see here that I've got a Washington certificate, right? I can download this PDF here. And this is a document that's actually stored in AvaTax, right? But I've got visibility to it here directly from the customer card in Business Central. So they're just nice ties to our other tools to make sure that, we're not getting in the way of your normal day-to-day process. But all of these guys, when it comes down to it at the end of the day, kind of behind the scenes, that's great. But really, again, don't want to get in the way of the day-to-day, right? So as you're building out your quote orders and invoices, the calculation piece, we're again just trying to be here, right? So normal process coming down through, you're buying whatever your thing is. Right? We'll sell one of those. The only place you even see us is that tax area code. Right? So again, very much behind the scenes. The call is actually the save for us, but you do have the ability to hit the statistics here and you can actually see the taxes that may or may not come across. And in this particular case, right, we've got tax shipping to North Carolina, right? And if I really wanted to see the breakouts of the different layers of tax, right, these are all the different levels that broke out. All these rates are maintained in AvaTax again, so that I don't need to worry about those things here, right? And then, this particular case, I was shipping over to North Carolina, which was a taxable address, but we can flip these over to our other addresses, right? And I can do that same statistics, for example. And now this customer is exempt because we have a Washington certificate for them. Right? So there's no taxes in this particular case. So it allows me to be very granular in how I want to manage those exemption certificates. So that's a very high level, quick run through the actual system here to kind of get us what we need. But definitely a lot of things kind of going on under the hood. Just don't want to get in the way of your normal day to day. So I would say if you want further information, definitely reach out to us. Again, we're just on the app source. You have questions, you can reach over to Microsoft@avalara.com. I'm more than happy to help you guys out where we can.
Thank you,
With that, I
Will.
will turn it over. Thanks so much.
All right, if you do have any questions again, please feel free to put them in the chat or Q&A and Will can get those back to you. All right, we have 3 left.